Hi guys, Jarrod here, and today we're going to be dealing with a special topic. It's basically almost like a beginner's guide to collecting for the Neo Geo MVS in particular. Now, the MVS, as you know, is that big, huge red arcade cabinet. Now, it doesn't matter if you have that or if you have a consoleized version, that's the ones like the Analog Interactive or the Omega, which basically they take that big arcade cabinet, they take the motherboard out, and they basically whoop, make a little shell for it so you can connect it to your TV. Either way, it doesn't matter. They both play these things right here. Okay, this is an MVS cartridge. Okay, this is an actual arcade game. How awesome is that? And this isn't gonna be comprehensive in the sense that I'm not gonna go through and show you billions of different things. I'm just gonna give you some beginner's tips on how to buy these at affordable prices, because as with everything, right, it's all about supply and demand. For years, you used to be able to pick these up for next to nothing. We're talking like 15, 20 bucks. But as the Analog Interactive CMVS, as the Omega CMVS, and as just consoleized MVSs in general gain and pick up in popularity, the prices of these are starting to go higher and higher and higher. Games that maybe 5 years ago would have sold for $20 are now selling for $80 and up. And before you know it, we will get some games like Prehistoric Isle 2, Strikers 1945 Plus, that are going to start selling for the $200, $300, $400 range, which is pretty much the asking price of almost every single AES game out there. And that's why those AES games are so expensive. For those that don't know, the AES is the home console version of these games. They look different. They have like a nice sticker up here and whatnot. Now, those games in particular, the reason why they're so expensive is just because so many people were like, oh, well, I can buy an AES for relatively cheap, but they didn't make many of the home cartridge versions of these games. And so the demand is there, but the supply isn't there. So they go for thousands of dollars in some cases. And I'm telling you right now, as a beginner's guide here, buy these as soon as you can, these MVS cartridges, because they are going up in price. Like I said, every year these things jump up in price. Look at NES games as an example. Years ago, NES games were dirt cheap, dirt cheap. But the retro gaming scene, for whatever reason, is just exploded in the last like 4 or 5 years. And now NES games are actually becoming to the point where it's not really that fun to collect anymore, because it's not like you can go through and you spend like $200 or $300 and you're like, wow, I got this, awesome. You know, like some really rare games and whatnot. Now, like individual games are going for hundreds, in some cases thousands, in some cases tens of thousands of dollars, which just sort of takes that appeal away. I mean, even like popular games like The Legend of Zelda, you used to be able to pick that up for $3, like complete with the instruction manual and everything. Now try and find one complete and in mint condition for $3. Good luck to you. But anyways, getting off track. Let's go back to this. Now, there's two very important things you need to know about collecting for the MVS. Number one, loose cartridges. That's what this is. That's the way I collect. I don't collect the second way. And the second thing that you need to know about MVS cartridge collecting is the fact that not only were these available as loose cartridges like this, but this is not how they would have been sent to the arcade owner. They would have actually been sent in a, it's like a cardboard box. If you look here, you see the serial number? That would have matched the cardboard box that this was in. It would have had the little mini marquee that you would have put in the at the top of the red arcade cabinet, just to show you which game was like installed into the system. And it usually had like a dip switch setting, so you knew, like, for example, like, oh, okay, like free play, I just move this to switch up or down. If I'm speaking Mandarin to you or something, I'm sorry, but it's basic arcade lingo. Dip switches are what the arcade owner would use to manipulate in order to control certain aspects. Like, for example, often it would be 1 quarter or 1 token would grant you X number of lives or credits. You could control all these things with dip switches in the actual arcade machine. Okay, so you've got those two very important things, that we've got loose cartridges and we've got what are commonly referred to as kits. And the kit would be the cardboard with a matching serial, well, sometimes with a matching serial for the cartridge, the mini marquee, all the different materials. Now, if you are a collector, kits are the way to go. I don't have a single kit to show you because I'm not a collector. I'm a gamer. I'm a fan. I play the games. So a kit to me, for example, what can I say? Let's say Prehistoric Isle, right? Prehistoric Isle 2 is a rare MVS game. Sort of. It's because it's in high demand because it's an exclusive to the MVS platform. It wasn't released on anything else, and so there's a lot of demand. It's not particularly rare in the sense like, oh, they only made 5 copies, but it's rare because there's a really large demand for the game and there's not too much supply. So that causes the prices to rise a bit. A loose cartridge, if you were to go to the Neo store, that's neostore.com, you'll have to pay around $200. It will have a fully intact label. You'll notice this label is not in great shape. It's a little bit ripped here. But the thing is, this is an original label. If you look very closely here, I don't know if you can see it, but there's remnants of like a 4, and that's the 4. This serial basically has to match, okay? Serial number. And if you go there right now for Prehistoric Isle 2, they have one with a clean label, with matching serials. Everything is fully intact, and they're selling it for the low asking price of, I believe it's $200 or $219 US. Ouch! That's a lot of money for one cartridge. The kit, the last kit I saw with matching serials and all the different like stuff inside, was selling for $799. Yowzer. See why I deal mainly with cartridges. So, how do you actually go about purchasing these things? Well, you see, one thing you gotta know is that if you open up, you'll see on the sides here, see there's a different screws. I think they're just like Phillips. Yeah, just Phillips screws. If you were to remove these, which I'm not going to do, the 2 boards inside, these 2 things, are very commonly today, how can I say this? They're not real. They're not authentic. It's they're made in China and other places, and they're basically what we call I don't even know how they actually. They're boots or bots or no, they're boots. That's it. They're fake. They're not real. They're worth bubkiss. They're worth nothing because they're either conversions, they're fakes, they're this, they're that. It's not the real actual silicon that was pressed by SNK for these particular games. So that is the one thing you have to watch out for. Doesn't matter where you buy your games, you need to buy from reliable and trusted sources. It is extremely important that you keep that in mind. Just because you see some guys sell something on eBay, that doesn't mean that it's real. And just because obviously people are like, oh, it's authentic, that doesn't mean anything either. So you have a couple of good, reliable sources. The Neo Store is one of them, neostore.com. It's one of the oldest and longest running. It's run by a guy named Sean. He's been in the business since way back in the day. He was actually at one point the official supplier for MVS and AES cartridges to North America. So if you buy anything there, you are guaranteed that it's the real deal. It will be legitimate. It'll be, it's all real. Their pricing is based according on condition. They have very reliable and realistic condition grading. The thing is, their prices are a little expensive, naturally, because, well, it's the most reliable and trusted source, right? Now, there is something else. There's sort of a community, an underground community at neo-geo.com, and that is where I buy the bulk of my stuff. And the way this works, it's almost like an eBay, but it's forums. So you will post like your wanted ads. You'll say like, I'm looking to buy XYZ, or you can go on their sales thread, which lists all the different games available for sale, and then you if you're lucky, if people live on these boards, let me tell you. Excuse me. But if you're lucky, you can post in and say like, let's say someone. This is a really common game, Savage Rain, the one I just recently reviewed. If someone says like, okay, I'm selling my Savage Rain copy for $40 US, something like that. The first person who replies, they can say like, okay, thanks. Send me a private message with your PayPal information, and I'll send it away. So how do you know that these are legitimate? How do you know you're not going to get screwed? That the person's not going to send the game, whatever? Well, it's based on the honor system, of course, sort of like eBay. But there is a feedback system built into the message boards, and I like that. I like that a lot. So with me, I deal with people who usually have like 400 or 500 positive feedback. They've been on these boards for like 10 years or something like that. And they just, they're trustworthy people. Very frequently, what they'll do is they will actually open up these and show you pictures of these boards. If you want, go to Google and you can type in MVS scans, and there's a site that's dedicated to show you what the boards actually look like, what the labels look like, so that you can actually see if it is an authentic cart or not. That's the way I typically go. I know there's a lot of people here on YouTube who go to eBay. The only thing with eBay is, you've got to find a reliable seller. Sal, also known as is it Mr.? I think it's Mr. or is it? I think it's SNK Neo Geo Man. That's what it is. I never remember if it's Mr. and that and whatever. What he advised me to do is he went and said, go to eBay and look for this guy Sheep Nova. And he said he's a reliable seller, and he's like frequently has some pretty good games. So that's exactly what I did. I looked him up, and he was selling a couple of games that were a little pricey. But what's nice with this seller, even though they're from China, now not saying anything bad about for our Chinese viewers, but that's one of the areas you've got to be careful is Korea and China. If they're sellers, you've got to be careful, because that's where all these pirated versions of these games come from. But if you do get a really good seller with really good feedback and who's willing to take pictures of the boards for you, you're gold, because you can see exactly with that site, the MVS scans, you can see exactly whether or not the games are legit. And then, of course, you have the eBay protection, you've got the PayPal protection, so on and so forth. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. That's the big. I just wanted to touch base that if you are looking, because I had a couple people who were saying, "Wow, that MVS consoleized MVS that I did," they're like, "I think I'm going to check that out." And I got a lot of private messages here on YouTube from people telling me, where do I get the games and what do I need to watch out for? So hopefully that helps you guys just get a rough understanding. And you know what? I don't know everything. I'm not some Neo Geo expert here. So by all means, if you have a reliable source, if you've got a place that you go to that you think, like, oh, Jarrod should really mention that or whatever, by all means, leave a message, in the comments. And what I can do is I can add that to the description. So if people are, if you're watching this and it's been like 2 years later or something like that, hopefully by the time you watch this, there'll be a nice list of different places you can go. And I'll list the Neo store, I'll list the Neo Geo message boards, but that's all I can really list. If you've got anything else, let's share the wealth of information and maybe prevent some people from getting screwed over by illegal copies. All right, guys, I hope that was a little bit helpful. I hope it was a little interesting. And that's it. I'm off to work getting more reviews done for you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.